So looking back over the last 14 weeks, I think it's important to ask, what was the point? What was the point of studying the humanities? So simply, we study the humanities to understand what we believe about the world, but also why we believe what we believe. In other words, we ask that question, why, so that we can get a clearer picture of who we are and what we understand. In essence, when you ask why, you challenge what you think, you challenge your answers, which then forces you to go deeper and discover the truth about your worldview. So our worldviews and who we are shaped by three core kind of ideas. The first one is the human experience. So the human experience is our reality. So to be a human being means we experience the world through our senses, our cognition, our emotions, and it's a very human way of doing it, right? That means that our existence, our reality, is made up of our mental, our emotional, our spiritual, our physical characteristics of human life. Because of that, we have a human condition. So our experiences are internalized through our cognition, and our sensory output and input help create our reality. Well, that reality gives us a sense of awareness, right? And there's a blessing and a burden here. There's a level of consciousness that humans have which make us uniquely aware of time and space, of birth, growth, aspiration, conflict, morality, and mortality. It's said that all throughout poetry, all throughout human history, that one of the biggest things that humans have to grapple with is that we know we're going to die. That knowledge of our mortality creates a looming condition that we have to deal with through our experience. Because of our experience and our condition, there seems to be a human nature. There's a way of thinking, a way of feeling, a way of acting, which humans are said to have in a natural way. We either get this from a biology, so we inherit this through our genes and through our biology of our survival, or we inherit this through generations, from generations previously passed down to us, or it's some combination of the two. But human nature is a way for us to cope with our experience and our condition. So because of this, the humanities studies these three aspects: the human experience, the human condition, and human nature, but it does so through a form of questioning. It's really only about questioning. In fact, the humanities are a series of questions which lead to a deeper understanding and then lead to more questions. It can be very frustrating, of course, but it's how we get into a deep understanding of who we are. As long as there have been people on Earth, there have been questions about life and how life works. So there are four kind of key questions the humanities try to grapple with. Why are we here? What is the meaning and purpose of life? How do we know and find the truth? And what is the right way to live? Now, the second you answer one of these questions, it can lead to a way of believing, which then can lead to more questions. For instance, oftentimes when we ask questions like why we are here or what is the right way to live, we end up in questions or answers about religion. Religion gives us an answer to why we're here. Religion can give us an answer to what is the right way to live. But then we start to ask new questions. Okay, if religion provides us with an idea of a deity or the supernatural, why does that work? If there is a God, what is he or she like? Why is there evil in the world if God is good? So once you answer one of these fundamental questions, it actually leads you down to more questions. And how humans try to address this and create is the humanities. So our answers come up in three kind of big umbrella ways. The first is the arts are a way of knowing. Just like science and math can give you answers, painting and drawing and drama and music and philosophy, they can give you answers. Worldviews are a way of understanding. When we start looking for answers and collecting those answers, we start forming a perspective. That perspective is how we see the world. It's how we filter all of our experiences, our sensory experiences, our social experiences, our emotional experiences. We filter that through our bias. That is what a worldview is. We all have a kind of bias shaped by our nature, our condition, and our experience, and how we've answered the fundamental questions. We work within that bias, and we can work to break down that bias. Experience is a way of making meaning. When we live in this world, one of the most fundamental things human beings can do is try to make sense of the senseless, or purpose from the purposelessness. It's often been said that the reason we have narrative is because human lives are messy and don't have structure. Human lives are organic and spontaneous, and there's not a lot of control or order in a human life. Narrative takes a human life and puts an order or a structure over it. It starts with a question or a plot or a thesis. It goes through overarching details and ends with a resolution. Narrative is a way to try to control the messiness of human life. So the arts provide us with our perception. I can incorporate creativity in my life, which allows me to solve problems and communicate more effectively because of the arts. Creativity is inspiration plus expression. Expression is the highest form of communication. Creativity inspires others and gives others another tool to communicate ideas. That's what the arts are, a form of communication. We can do that visually through the visual arts, like painting and drawing and sculpture and architecture. We can do that through literary arts, like poetry and narrative. We can do that through performing arts, like music and dance and theater. The best way to communicate is combining as many forms of communication to get ideas across. People have lots of ways of understanding the world. They've got lots of communication styles and learning styles. If you want to be really effective, you can't just talk to them. You have to use other things to help get your ideas across. We use body language. We use visual aids. We use the written form. We use music to create tone and mood. All of these ways help create communication. To be good at communicating, we need to be creative. Creative thought allows us to think of new ways of handling things and come up with new ways of expressing by using inspiration of the past, combining it, adjusting it, modifying it, and turning that into a new way to talk to someone. We analyze that and break that down as the listener or as the audience or as the viewer. We can take apart an artistic work and read it. Just like you could read the written word, you can read visuals, you can read performances. You can take it into pieces, analyze those pieces, and try to understand things through inference and interpretation. There's a psychology to this. The arts and perceptions are rooted in the way our brains work. Our brains work through memory and cognition and the understanding of language and imagination. And all of these come together to help us create the arts. And lastly, we put these things in context. Context helps create meaning. When we make something, it's made in a certain time period for a certain people with a certain intent. Understanding that context helps us decode the message in a deeper way. Our arts are unique to our cultures. Every culture has a different way of expressing ideas. Every culture has its own rituals, has its own stories, has its own generational knowledge. Those cultures give us many different ways of living the human experience, the human condition, and understanding human nature. I can live more than one lifetime through the experiences of those in history and from the experience of those not in my culture. What that means is, instead of being bound to the 80 years that I have on this planet, by reading the thoughts of Shakespeare, or by reading the philosophies of Aristotle, or by understanding the teachings of the Buddha, I can live their lives and build on top of that. By knowing their ideas and their thoughts and their experiences, I don't have to physically be them, but I can add those experiences to my own life, making my life not just one, but 10 or 100 or 10,000 lives. And if I want to really make it rich, I do so from different experiences outside my own culture. The historical and significant people in my own culture allow me to build on the shoulders of geniuses. But by meeting people from all over the world and all different walks of life, I add their experiences to my life as well, again, enriching my life and living beyond just one lifetime and living multiple lifetimes in a shared experience. That is how we build wisdom. Wisdom is knowledge plus experience. Oftentimes people think because they've read a lot and are well read, they're wise, or because they've lived a long time, they're wise. The truth is those are incomplete. We need them together to create wisdom. You need to have the understanding of scholarship and to learn from history and to learn from different cultures of the world. And you need your own experience through your own lifetime to create true wisdom. Wisdom then leads to informed opinions and informed decisions. Not all opinions and decisions are equal. Uninformed opinions and uninformed decisions are not as good as informed ones. Wisdom gives us guidance. We can build wisdom through awareness, through historiography,